All right, chat. They finally updated their YouTube page. They finally put up the Golden State Warriors first day of school media day. So we got Draymond, we got there goes Clay, Mr. Sensational, and look at Curry, man, so inspirational. So let's start with Draymond since that's been out
You
for
know
about
that
2 hours
feeling of
now.
rewash dishes that
Nobody's
can't
really
get
trying to see
clean?
that, but we're
I
gonna
know.
check this out real
Cascade
quick. Then
Platinum
we get
Plus
to
with double the dunk of
Splash
recycle power
Brothers.
and double the scrubbing power for a no rewash clean and a cabinet ready shine. Upgrade to Cascade Platinum Plus. Dare to dish differently.
May I join you?
Come on with the ads,
Perfect.
I
man.
like to cook.
Skip.
What's going on? I'm solid.
Oh yeah, this man got gray in his beard already. So is it true that Draymond's injured?
How's everyone?
He's not playing in the first preseason game?
Back to the real world. Life.
Yes, yeah.
To the real
This man's nervous on his first day of school.
real world.
Interesting.
Life.
Come on, Draymond, you got a podcast, buddy. Get it together.
All right.
You ready to go?
Yeah.
CJ Holmes, San Francisco Chronicle. Dre, what's going on with the ankle?
How's Auburn?
Auburn was great, actually. Wow. Well, what's going on with the ankle? How'd you first, suffer that injury, and how you feeling now?
Was just playing pickup and was going up for a layup. Came down on JK's foot. But I feel good. I feel like I'm improving fast. I'm a pretty fast healer, so I feel like I'm improving fast, and it's good. Didn't quite foresee this coming into the season, but everything happens for a reason. I think I'm excited because we have a great performance team, and I'll be in even better shape by the time, whenever that is, when I start playing, than I even am in now with our performance team. So it's an opportunity for me to get better and continue to improve up.
Audio?
Like I said, that'll come with some different things, some different vantage points. That'll come with, man, I see y'all doing this way. What do y'all think about doing it this way? And then you look at it like, that makes sense. I wouldn't have thought of that. And all of a sudden, something we've been doing this way changes, And so I think just understanding all of those things will be important. And, Steve, like you said, Steve will teeter with things during the preseason. That is the time to do that. And so, but I think for us, the goal is to get our foot in as quickly as we can, kind of settle into who we are and who we want to be as quickly as we can, and then go from there.
Hey, Draymond. Colin Warhenninger, CBS Sports. Going back to what you're saying about Chris Paul. You've been the lead playmaker on this team, assist guy for a long time. But even with all that experience, what can you learn?
I don't see that changing now.
No, that's not what that's not what I meant.
Hairline or something, right? Huh?
No, that's not where I was going. It's friendly.
No,
yeah. What can you learn from a guy like Chris Paul?
I think number one for me to learn, like anytime you get to learn from a guy like Chris Paul, you're lucky. And so for me, I'm looking forward to the opportunity. I have this saying, I always walk around talking to guys like, I see everything. I'm a point guard, and it's just, it could be us sitting here and I see this thing like I'm a point guard. I see that. But like,
This team is going to be really smart. They're going to outthink a lot of people.
From the experience that he has.
A lot of the players are going to start outthinking because they got Draymond and Chris Paul.
Talk about mastering.
But they are super old. It's not getting twisted.
He's one of the most incredible playmakers we've seen in this league. It's funny because I was talking with a couple friends, Travis in particular, the other day, and when we were sitting and we were talking with a couple of the young guys, and I thought it was very interesting some of the things that the young guys had to say. And we were just talking about pickup. Like a couple of the young guys was playing on Chris' team, and he was telling us some of the things that Chris was saying and doing with like him and Kuminga. And I was just sitting there, and Travis and I were sitting there looking at each other like, wow. And the first thing Travis said is, wow, I got to teach TJ that. TJ is Travis' son, my nephew. He's like, wow, I got to teach TJ that. And like, we weren't even sitting with Chris. Like, we weren't anywhere. Chris wasn't even in the same place we were. But yet, and still, we're sitting there essentially learning from Chris. And I think that is something that you just you can't quantify that, because that is influence, and so that, like I said, that's without Chris being there. So now imagine Chris there and the things that you get to learn, because what we learned in that situation, it was from Chris' perspective in a sense, but it wasn't from Chris, and yet you'll have Chris there to learn from. And so, man, I'm extremely excited about the opportunity to learn from him. I think even in, one thing that, when I look at Chris's career, one thing he's been absolutely incredible at is bringing younger guys along. And that's something that I feel like I can be so much better at. So to have someone like that to learn from, I think is pretty incredible.
Draymond, given Chris's personnel, we know, and everything you've just cited, his impact on this league, where do you fall on the starting lineup question then? I mean, Chris has said something, we don't know what he's going to say today or what he really feels, and we know Steve has said we're going to see what it looks like. You had the best starting five in the league last year. Do you think Chris should be in the conversation to kind of break that up a little bit?
I mean, you said it. We did have the best starting lineup in the league, so you can't ignore that,
That's facts.
Yeah, you can't ignore Chris Paul as Chris Paul. Like, he is very much so Chris Paul. And so you have to take all of that into account. And then once you take all of that into account, I am a basketball player and not a coach. So it's not my job to figure it out. It's not my role. But what I do know is whatever is best for this team is going to happen. And what I do know is, in spending time with these guys over the last month and a half and getting together and spending time together, the number one goal from everybody here will be to win. And when that is the number one goal of everyone that walks into this building, everything else, you figure it out. And it won't always be my way. It won't always be Steph's way. It won't always be Chris' way. It won't always be Steve's way. Because when the number one goal, when you walk into an arena, when you set out on your journey to do something and the number one goal is winning, it don't always go anyone in a particular way. And then you have to sacrifice things. And that's what makes up a team. And so what I can feel with this team already is that everyone who's walking in that door has a dedication to winning. And because of that, everything else that'll happen along the way is just a part of the journey. You figure those things out, but in figuring those things out, you do what's best to reach the end goal. And I have no doubt in my mind that everyone who's here has that goal, and so I have no worries about a starting
Dang, his elbow is ashy.
lineup,
I'm gonna leave him alone though.
finishing lineup,
You got an
sitting
ashy
in.
elbow
I
though.
don't have any worries about that because those are all things that's just a part of the journey of what we want to ultimately do.
You mentioned that, this is Maddie Kenny, Mercury News. You mentioned that everyone is on the same page. And last season, there was obviously just some disconnect with the team and chemistry was off. How much is that just kind of getting in some new faces, having a more veteran squad compared to the year prior?
I think having veterans definitely help because there's just more of an understanding. I think anything that you do, when you're mixing this amount of experience with this amount of experience, there is a disconnect. You try to do all that you can to lessen that disconnect. Sometimes you succeed, sometimes you fail. And that's just the nature of it. And so I think for us, you bring in more veterans. We are veterans. You bring in more veterans, guess what? You lessen the disconnect. Does not mean you can't, Moses isn't a veteran. Kuminga's still not a veteran. Like Trace isn't a veteran. BP isn't a veteran. Like, you're still going to have guys that aren't veterans. That's an NBA team. You're always going to have guys that aren't veterans. But I think when you start looking at adding a CP, adding, a Dario, guys who proven veterans in this league, it changes things because ultimately the experience that guys have makes a huge difference in this league. And, that's why guys get better as they go. You figure more things out. You figure schemes out. You figure how to work. You figure all of these things out. And so adding more veterans, I think it shores up things. It lessens the room for error. And I think anything that you do, if you can lessen the room for error in something, you're trying to do that. And I think adding veterans for us helps.
We're gonna do like
Steve
3 more, and we
said
on to the
it
next one.
last week that he
3 more.
thought last year you guys might have come in with your foot off the gas a little bit, having won the championship, short summer, everything. I'm wondering, in retrospect, do you feel that way, and do you feel a different kind of sense of urgency, or that let's run, your time together, the three of you especially, is it's shrinking. Do you feel a different sense of urgency this year?
I think anytime you're coming off a championship, your sense of urgency won't be what it will become when you're not coming off a championship. So I don't even get into the space of trying to compare the two, because it's just really not a realistic comparison. As a human being, one of the things that we all fight as human beings when we have success is complacency. And it's a natural thing, because you work so hard to reach the mountaintop. And when you reach the mountaintop, you can appreciate that. And the time that you spend appreciating it is time that you don't spend getting better. It's just a very natural thing. And anything that you do, if you're not spending that time getting better, you're getting worse. And so when you win a championship and you're spending your time appreciating winning that championship, which we all do, which you should do, by the way, because who's working to get to the mountaintop to only not appreciate it, then what's the point of getting there? And you should never get there again because you didn't even appreciate being there. And so I think for us, we reached the mountaintop a couple years ago, and you're coming off that. Your foot isn't on the gas. Small things that you may stop. When you're not on the mountaintop, you let slide. You let those things slide. Small issues become big issues. Sometimes you can correct them, sometimes you can't. And I think for us, and being through this so many times now, we understand that. Last year, the season did not end how we wanted it to end. You're going to come back naturally motivated, even more motivated when that happens, if you're competitors. Well, you don't have the success that we've had if you're not competitors. And so I think for us, it's a natural thing for us to come in more focused this year than we came in last year. I don't really necessarily take that as a knock. Like I said, it's human nature. But I do think it's important, and I can see that everyone comes in locked in, ready to get off to a good start, because that will determine how the rest of our year goes. And so everyone's definitely more focused. And the way I view it is sometimes you have to lose to win. And last year we lost, and I think it's set us up to put us in better position to win this year.
You're on record saying that you did not like Chris Paul. How has your perspective on that changed since you've been able to work with him, play with him, if at all?
I've had some conversations with him, with Chris over the last couple months that I haven't necessarily had. Not only with Chris, but just in my career. Chris. And I've said this before, too, on the record. He's one of the smartest guys in this league. When you talk basketball IQ, I've said on record, Chris Paul, LeBron James, Ray John Rondo and Rondo, like I've said that on record a million times. And so, number one, we've had basketball conversations that I've just been excited to have, because it's sitting and speaking with a guy with the IQ level of a Chris Paul. For me, I can get basketball geeky at times. I love the game of basketball. I think one of my best attributes as a basketball player is my IQ. And so And speaking to a high IQ guy like Chris, for me, that's everything. Like, that's gold. And we've been able to share in those conversations. We've been able to share in a bunch of conversations. We've been collaborative on things, things that you do with teammates. We've been doing. And in doing that, you start to get to know people outside of just what you're doing as far as basketball goes. And, I've started to get to know Chris better. I didn't know Chris at all outside of competing with him. If you've ever watched Chris compete, he's kind of an asshole. You may say the same thing about me, and that's okay. But he's also one of the most competitive guys that I've played against over my 11 years in this league. I'm also an extremely competitive guy, and I'm not backing down from anyone. He's not backing down from anyone. That will bring some clashes, and it has brought plenty of them. When you look at the last 7, 8 years in the NBA, Chris Paul is right at the center of all of it. And guess what? So are we, and we weren't on teams. If there wasn't any hate, then everybody get to talking like, oh man, those guys are too friendly, or why are they working out together? This, that, in today's NBA. But then when you have competitors hating each other, then that's like, oh man, they hate each other. Like, how is that even possible? Well, you gotta pick a side.
So it's a lose-lose.
You want us to be friends and all work out together, and everybody accept it, or you want us to hate each other. And in this case, we competed. Like, we're trying to get championships. Chris was trying to get championships. And guess what? When you're competing for that, at the level that we've competed for that sometimes brings hate. Because we're going after the same thing. And that definitely had brought that between us. But look at the runs we were on. Houston was right at the center of that. The Clippers were right at the center of that. And so Phoenix was right at the center of that. So you look at, in the league 11 years, we've been competing on a championship level for 8. He's at the center of 6 of them. Of course there's going to be some animosity, and there was a lot of it. Now, in saying that, we're adults, we're men, and we have an opportunity to go do something special together. Would never let that go by the wayside. And, and just getting to know Chris and seeing how he operates, seeing how he moves, how he carries himself, how he walks in the gym every day. Like, it makes sense of why he is who he is, why he's had the success that he's had. And I'm growing to know that. I'm learning.
Is Draymond yapping, bro?
I don't think you're ever too
This is low-key yap.
too much to learn from someone. Chris Paul has been in this league, 18 years? Definitely somebody.
Yeah, bro, we get it. I ain't gonna lie.
I know, like I said, as we all know, and anything that happened past, like us becoming in battle for sure, but I think that don't know me.
Yeah. Draymond, bro,
I think if
you must have had a long time to think about this question because you've been talking for about 8 minutes.
You realize it's inside the heat to say.
You got
All right, yeah, we're out of here. All right, excuse me, who we got next?
Have you met Bronny yet? You
Got Clay. There goes Clay. How sensational. He's just sensational.
Build a whole new payments integration. Months of
summer of pickup.
He's just sensational, man. There he goes. See, he's very short.
It was great. Got to play some ball and just have fun while doing it.
You have to play and not get hurt.
And that's all.
That's what it's about. The hoop and not get hurt.
What we love to do as basketball players is play pickup and sharpen our skills. And when you have time off, you make the most of it. That's what I did.
Hey, Clay, good seeing you again. How much of a challenge is it going to be this year? Obviously, everybody gets a year older. You guys have some even more veteran guys this year with Rudy Gay and Chris Paul and kind of a revamped roster. But knowing that you guys had a quicker offseason than when you guys won the title, how much more does that give you guys motivation for this year to build on what you guys did last year?
Well, you have as many veterans as we do.
it makes it easy for everybody to be on the same page, and then to integrate the young guys will be easier to transition to because we got so many great leaders and guys who have experienced a decade plus in this league, and we're all very hungry to have great success this year, and we don't bring in guys, or the front office doesn't bring in guys who don't share that same passion. So I'm really excited to get going tomorrow.
Just a really quick one. Do you, with the Bahamas going to a pre-qualifier tournament, would that be something that you would want to? Would you want to go to the Olympics for the Bahamas if they were to make it?
That'd be cool because my dad never got the opportunity, and the Bahamas is a place where my story cannot be told without it, and it's dear to my heart. So, yeah, that would be sweet.
You and Steve are both on expiring deals, specifically with your situation. Do you feel like an extension is possible in the next, month or so? And if not, just how do you kind of feel as you look towards the future?
I think it's possible. And if not, life is still great. Like, I'm playing basketball in my 13th year in the NBA. So I have no complaints for whatever the future has in store. Like, done so many great things in this uniform, and I know there are many more memories to create. So whatever happens, life is great. I can't really complain. I've had an incredible run here, and I look forward to making more great memories with the guys.
Hi, Clay. Nice to see you.
You too.
Chris Paul was saying that you were guarding him recently, and he said, we don't do this no more. I mean, now that you're teammates, what's it like? You guys have had a lot of battles over a decade or more. What's it like now to have him on your side?
It's crazy. I mean, Chris has been on our way of winning for so many years, and now to be on the same team with him, it's just a huge honor for myself, especially playing the two-guard spot. You love playing with a point guard like Chris, who's one of the greatest assist man in basketball history. I know he's going to get me so many easy opportunities this year, but I think...
So what is the starting five going to be? So if Chris is starting, is Chris, Steph, Clay, Wiggins? What? That's going to be the five if Chris Paul is starting.
I think he's going to help us so much, especially from a leadership standpoint. We know what he's capable of on the court. Obviously, he has 20 and 10 nightly, but his ability to lead and guide these young guys, and myself as well, is what's going to really stand out, I feel like.
Hey, Clay. Outside of playing pickup, what were some of your highlights, this summer? What were some of your favorite memories?
Some of my favorite memories. Well, I was fortunate enough to go back to China and the Philippines with Anta, and to see how many fans we really have over there is always humbling and inspiring. Because when I was a kid and I was in love with this game, I would have never thought that I would have the chance to inspire people across the globe, and now that I'm here able to do it, that's what keeps me going. And I just can't believe that there's people around the world who watch us, who stay up till 2 a.m., 3 a.m., or start time is that, and they are dedicated to our season. And I got to see that again this past summer when I went with Anta, and it was really special. It was just really cool to connect with the fans in China and the Philippines, and I gained so much motivation from that trip.
Hey, Clay, I'm assuming you didn't know Chris real well before he got here. Have you had the experience when you've been scrimmaging with him or just talking to him that, hey, mate, this guy's a nicer guy than I thought, or he's funnier than I thought, or he's been what you thought?
He's been what I thought. I mean, he's always been a great guy. I mean, when you're on the court between the lines, you obviously don't like each other because we stand in the way of what we want, but he was the president of the Players Association, and he did such wonderful things for us as players, and Chris is just a great family man as well, and to be able to be his shooting guard and have Steph and Chris Paul as your point guards, that's a crazy thought because those are two of the better point guards in basketball history.
Hey, Clay. Colin Ward-Henninger, CBS Sports.
Do a couple
towards the end of
more.
last season, you talked about having conversations with Coach Kerr about becoming a more complete player, rebounding, doing other things like that. How do you think you continued those steps in terms of your workouts this offseason, in terms of becoming a more complete player?
Wow. It's a good question. I would say just trying to focus on little details. You know, I'm so in love with scoring the ball and shooting. Sometimes it's equally as fun getting a stop, getting a good rebound, making an assist, the simple plays. So when I was hooping this summer, I just tried to focus on doing the things that allow the team to win, whether that's hitting the open man, taking the open shot, playing defense, and not being so pressed like to have to score for my team to win, just to try and be a complete cerebral player. And I thought I did that well, and hopefully it shows this season.
Clay, Chris Alvarez from ABC7 back here. You talked about last year how you will get back to being an all-star player. What would it mean for you to get back to the all-star game this year and have a couple more under your belt before you leave?
That'd be awesome. It's a goal of mine, and I think it's attainable. It's just how hard I want to work and how ready I'll be opening night. So it's up to me, and I'm not going to lie to you. It is a goal of mine. It's always an honor to play in the All-Star game when you get used to it, and then you don't go for a while. You kind of feel left out. So I would love to be in, I think it's in Indianapolis this year. I would love to be there.
Money Pool, NBC
One
Sports,
more.
Eric. I go back, Clay, to when Mark Jackson was a coach here, and he used to always say about you that you're not low maintenance, you're no maintenance. And he talked about how you and Steph are able to push each other with your work ethic and in practices and so forth. Let's talk a little bit about how you and Steph have been together for so long and what you guys can do for each other and how you guys have evolved over the years.
Well, I love playing for Mark. Mark was a great motivator. He has so many great stories of when he played, whether it was against Kobe, whether against Michael Jordan, whether against Shaq or Kareem. Mark played in an era where you had to be tough. You know, there was no nights off back then. I don't think flagrant fouls were the same as they are now. So I enjoyed those days. And as far as with Steph, I mean, that's all I know is Steph is my point guard, and I've been lucky enough to see his work ethic, and we were able to get in the gym this summer together. I know I let him down on the golf course, so I'll try and pick up the slack and have a great shooting season. That's the only way I can really make up for it.
All right, we're going to see Mr. Sensational, Klay Thompson. Last
Have you
not
met Bronny yet? You
least,
seen him walking around?
the communities. Look at Curry, man. So inspirational. He's,
We're anesthesiologists.
you know, as we said about LeBron, he's the glorious king, Steph Curry. Quote unquote, my glorious king.
See Chris Paul to be scrimmaging with him,
That's
to be
funny.
talking to him on the phone as a teammate, to have him here. Does it hit you that this is a real thing yet, or has it all kind of sunk in that he's here?
Yeah, it's sunk in for sure. We got through all the pleasantries in the summer. We got together multiple times with the whole team. Definitely is weird. Obviously, you go through battles for years, and you kind of acknowledge the awkwardness of it at first, but the fact that, you know, he is who he is in terms of, you know, his career, the way that he's competed at the highest level for so long, the fact that he's motivated to, you know, help us do what we need to do this year, the way that he's approached everything has been awesome. So there's probably still gonna be moments when you get too closer to, you know, the games and regular season where you see him out there and it's like, oh yeah, he's with us. But I think the bigger picture is that he's approaching everything the right way, and excited to have him. Excited to see what changes and ways we can adapt to him in the lineup and, you know, different rotations that we can put out there. So he just knows how to play basketball. We know that, and excited to put it together.
Steph, over here, Connor Letourneau, San Francisco Chronicle. How does Clay look to you this summer, and how do you kind of feel about where he's at entering the season?
He looks great. I know it's mostly just comparing to his experience last summer, and I think it's night and day different. Even the way he's talking about the way he approached it and the progress that he's gone through this year or this off season, the confidence he has in himself and his body to hit the ground running, even starting tomorrow in practice and leading through training camp and preseason. So it's always a great sign when he's locked in mentally and physically, and to take advantage of the off season. It's hard work. Like, it's a lot of reps and a lot of commitment to the unglamorous stuff that we have to do in the off season to prepare your body, and the fact that he's speaking that game and saying he put the time in, and it's showing in the way that we've seen him on the court, makes a big difference.
Hey, Steph, to your left. Have you ever played with a point guard like Chris, and just what do you think that playing alongside him is going to do for you?
I mean, now, Jason Richards back at Davidson College was like the first point guard that I got to play with that was like kind of pass first and a playmaker, distributor, and I played off of him. That was just my first 2 years in college, and then I was a go-to point ever since. So I never really had a guy that necessarily was with his.
So Steph Curry's definitely playing too.
He's elevated teams.
If Chris Paul is starting.
But the beauty in the way that me and Clay can play off the ball, and we had Jared Jack for a while in the sense of he had the ball in his hands a lot, but obviously CP's a Hall of Famer. We know just the talent that he is. It will give us different looks, and it should be pretty easy to, whether it's from whatever lineup you're out there with, or from possession to possession, who's initiating the offense, for us to kind of work off of each other. Because in theory, again, we all understand the game and know spacing and know how to cut, how to play off of each other. Obviously, our skill set to be able to shoot will open up hopefully a lot of lanes. We got to figure it out defensively and how we want to match up and all those type of things. But it should be a good challenge.
Hey, Steph, Colin Ward-Henninger, CBS Sports. You've obviously been through a lot of NBA off seasons. Are you a guy that likes to find one routine and kind of stick with it because it works, or do you like to change things up to keep it fresh over the summer?
It's a little bit of both. Change of scenery is always nice. I have my guys that I work out with, and I have for over a decade. So you evolve in terms of your strategy and what you're trying to accomplish. I think the deeper you get into your career, you realize you have to do a lot more, a little bit often, if that makes sense, in terms of, I didn't take too much time off after the Lakers series, but it's not like you're killing yourself every day, 7-hour, 8-hour days. It's mostly just trying to stay as consistent as possible so that you never really get out of shape. You kind of just always stay prime, but still find ways to get rest. But it's nice to shock the system a little bit with trying new things and new approaches to your own court workout, stuff that you do in the weight room, to see, you know what your bread and butter is of what works in terms of your routine, but you kind of have to listen to your body too to know what it needs, and that's the challenge of trying to extend your prime for as long as you can, and being honest with yourself about what work needs to go into your routine to prepare yourself for a season.
One quick one, and then a Warriors one. I think LeBron and KD today committed to the Olympics. I know sounds like you were part of those conversations at least at some point in the summer. Are you ready, to commit to the Olympics yet, or do you know?
I've talked to some people about the opportunity, and definitely, if all things stay the same, I want to be, playing. It's the one thing I haven't done, and I also understand,
Come on, Wardell, make it happen. It's not difficult. It's you, LeBron, KD, already.
The opportunity for
That's 3 spots taken. Come on.
yourselves as a dominant.
Come on, you ain't got nothing else better to do anyway, other than golf. Come on.
Definitely want to be
Just play in the Olympics. Get a gold medal.
And
hopefully
things line up that way where we're all there.
And then Warriors.
Yeah, man, we need you.
It wasn't a full roster reconstruction this summer, but obviously you guys tweaked around the edges.
We need you for the Olympics. We need you for the Olympics.
What you guys are bringing this year.
I mean, there's always excitement because as players, that's what we control, is the ability to have confidence in yourselves and what who's in the locker room and what we all bring, and the fact that we all can complement each other, and that confidence I think goes a long way. We have a certain way of playing that we know has led to success, and we want to continue to double down on that. But I think we're all in the position to know we have a lot to figure out in terms of what those new looks, like CP, what Dario brings, Corey Joseph, guys that have been around the league for a long time and, again, are veterans, know how to play, true professionals, how we all gel and what that, chemistry looks like when it comes to actually, in between the lines. So training camp, we say it every year, and for different reasons. This year is just because we have new faces that are going to be important pieces to our actual rotation on a nightly basis. But training camp is going to be huge for us to make sure we're giving ourselves a good chance to get off to a great start. Because compared to last year, that was a big thing, a big hurdle to overcome. Our road woes that we had to start the season, and the difference between being 18-2 2 years ago and where we were last year. We like that the former experience a little bit better.
Hey, Steph, Dalton Johnson, NBC Sports Bay Area.
This is 22 minutes.
In one uniform.
Definitely skipping through.
How important, you love history of the game, how important is it for you to have done everything in a Warriors uniform and continue and finish as a Warrior for life, hopefully with Draymond and Clay as you guys keep going for championships?
I've said it before. it means everything. I'm in my 15th year. No need for a change of scenery at this point. So
Yeah, this guy's getting old, man.
just imagine being
This guy's getting old. He's almost pushing 20 years in the
It's
league.
not a ceremonial thing. It's
Still got what, 5 years, 6 years?
and I'm
Something to hang it up.
Can continue to be a leader on that front, perform at a high level, and put ourselves in a position to be championship contenders. You can't control everything. You can't guarantee anything in this league, and every team's trying to get better, and that's the nature of the competition. But if I can keep doing that every year, and like you said, still represent this organization, all that we've built, it's a dream come true.
Hey, Steph, it's Felicia Purcell for Sports in the Bay. I was curious what sparked your interest in the Mac Dre documentary, and secondly, can you talk about
The
some
Mac
of
Dre
your
documentary,
favorite
interesting.
moments, not family involved, over the summer that you enjoyed the most? Because I saw you on Hot Ones, I saw you in Toby's video. I mean, you were really busy. So
Yeah, this dude is out here dropping music now. Like, what is he doing?
back to the
Too much free time.
first.
I mean, having played in Oakland for 10 years and understood the history of that city, obviously from the music industry, the rap game, the culture that exists there. Mac Dre's story is a special one. It kind of embodies a lot of what the spirit of Oakland is. Obviously, I never met him, but things that we're doing in the media space to be able to tell the stories that need to be told and be a part of projects that speak to individuals that change the game. That is what I'm about. So we're just giving a platform to hopefully tell his story in the most meaningful, impactful way with his family, everybody that knew him, worked with him, people that were influenced by him. So creating that platform and that opportunity for that story to be told. It was an easy one, and I know looking forward to the project whenever it's ready to come out. And the summer was special, kind of in the same vein. Basketball's opened a lot of doors, and I had some amazing experiences on the golf course with family, traveling, all that, all the while, making sure I'm preparing for this season. So a lot of it is kind of exposed for the world. Some of it wasn't, but I had a lot of fun, and summer's over now.
Steph, obviously, Draymond signs the extension. He's going to be here for a long time. You're going to under contract for a long time. But Steve and Clay are both entering their final years. I know there's been a lot of confidence expressed that they will be here. But how important is it to you to see those guys sign for long term? Relatively soon.
So obviously, if it was my decision, they'd be here forever. Like, that's part of what we've built and what confidence that we have of what's ahead of us. So I know how the business works, and timing of everything matters. Contracts, negotiations, and conversations can get a little murky at times, but I think at the end of the day, take Draymond's situation, for example. How many different narratives came out of that for the last 2 years of what was going to happen with him and where he was going to be, and is this his last year and all that. Try not to get too caught up in the day-to-day of that, and just understand how much he means to this organization, and thankfully he got it done. I hope the same and know the same will happen with Steve and with Clay. But again, I would say our job is to go out and make that an easy decision. And so that's what we're about.
It ain't my dad's razor, Dad. This green bar releases trapped hairs from my face for the ultimate Gillette shave.
Do not buy solar panels. This panel is much more powerful and it costs zero.
Steph, over here. Draymond said that there's a difference in
Maybe like two more. We're going to intermediate. You like two more.
championship year. How did you feel that sense of urgency heading into this offseason, or a difference in urgency?
And you have 4 extra weeks to work with, and you're watching basketball, and you're not used to that. Usually, if you're in the finals and however it plays out, that's the end of it. And when you're watching it, it just gives you a different motivation and different fuel to the fire. I mean, to me, that's really all you really need. That's the start of the journey of, okay, well, how are you approaching this off season? What's the goal? Not just individually, how you're preparing yourself mentally and physically, but as a team, like how are we making the most of the time? We got together 3 times, I think, this summer as a group. Played pickup, hung out, tried to create a bond that can transition into training camp and the rest of the season. And hopefully that makes a difference with how we start the year. But trying to do everything you can to control the controllables, if you will, on what will put us in a position to be successful this year, and knowing what we do is hard. There's a high expectation standard that we've set over the course of these years, and we have to continue to try to live up to it.
Hey, Steph. Damon Bruce in the back. How you doing, man? Congratulations on the hole-in-one.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Callaway's worked for you in Dubai?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a little muggy, but we got it done.
Incorporating rookies has been a challenge, playing with the style of the Warriors. Can you tell us a little bit about how you'll help Brandon Pajemski and Trace Jackson-Davis find minutes this year to help you guys out?
The message is always like, your opportunities, you don't know when they're going to come, and to be in a position where you can be prepared for that opportunity and understand what impacts winning basketball. Like, it's a hard lesson to learn as a young guy, because you have a certain way of, a certain style of play maybe that got you to this point. You have a certain way of seeing the game that you're comfortable with, but you might be asked to do something entirely different. Pajemski was a go-to scorer and kind of Mr. Do-It-All for Santa Clara last year. He might be just asked to, lock up 94 feet and just turn a guy, 4 or 5 times for 2 to 3 minutes a game, or he might be asked to do more. He might be asked to, show up in practice and challenge us to, get better. Like, whatever he's asked to do, you have to be able to respond to that. And it's not glamorous at times. It's not easy, but it sets you up for the next stage of increasing your role. And if you buy into it, and coach is very straightforward when it comes to that, that's the situation. And then the league will reward you in the long run. So hopefully, whatever that is, they can buy into it and understand it will help us win. And when we win, everybody wins.
Stephen, how you doing?
What's up, Monty?
Yeah. Draymond was in here earlier, and he was talking about how, Chris is one of those guys that on the other team, he's one of the hated guys on the other team. On this team, he's the hated guy. You got 2 of those guys on one team now. Can that work in a positive way for the team's general intensity over the course of a season, having 2 guys that bring it like that?
For sure. It'll help us internally, understanding, like, the vibe in practice, the sense of accountability, like, let's make sure all the energy is put towards winning. And then if those two guys can focus that energy on the court when it comes to games on doing exactly that, like making everybody hate them but making us love them, like I know that they can, keep each other accountable to that energy as well. Like that's going to make a huge difference and give them an edge and give us an edge. So the one thing is I know they've been pretty open about talking about it to each other, like how they're going to try to help each other out in that front because neither one of them is not going to stop talking. So that's a good thing as long as it's channeled in the right direction.
See, hopefully we don't have another Jordan Poole situation. But with that being said, that is the end of this video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see y'all next video, man.